This session will approaches because the world of sustainability is very complex. So we will have a number of speakers. Our first speaker will be Mr. Jesse Marsh, whom we do not present anymore. Jesse has been working for more than 45 European projects in his career, and he's going to be talking about the importance of a community results. Niinimäki, who is associate professor at Aalto University, who will go through new carton and infinite fiber. We will then have Annalisa Moro, who develop alternative bio-based material. We will have Dingemans from the Kringwinkel Antwerp, who is the opponent of the Circularity Association in Antwerp. It took me quite a time.
On building a community and opening up the results to people who are not project partners, basically. First, why would we need a community and what are we talking about? This is the herewear scenario compared to the current supply chain in the textile industry. I think it was evident from listening to the people speaking this morning, but perhaps we need to reflect a little bit on how radical a change this is. We were talking about totally disrupting an industry which is very strongly structured in its ways. And the nearly 2 million people who are working for the nearly of the roles in the is an open question. So really the only thing we can do is to get these people together, because no single company, no single worker, no single role alone of this business. So what we need to do is to rethink the whole structure. What's going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to my company? Now, in the sense of a pub, a church, and a store, but a community in the sense of bringing together people with a common purpose, to change together. Who are experimenting with new methodologies, new techniques, what you saw this morning, and businesses, people who are in the business. And they provoke each other within the community to think about new ways about what they're doing. The labs provoke businesses to say, well, you could use this material, you could adopt this process, you could be more circular in this way. And the businesses provoke the labs to say, look, this needs to be real. I need to apply this. How am I going to do things? And only together, by working in this context which is both business-oriented and exploratory, can we really find the solutions. Now, there are different models of community in the research that we can refer to, but they're different models with a different way of working together and a different type of impact. A community of practice is, say, designers getting together, sharing ideas, sharing their problems. How is the design profession going to change? Or any other relatively homogeneous group of people with similar concerns. Then we have a community of making, of production, where people test new value chains. What would it mean to connect directly with the farmers who are cultivating that wheat? What would it mean to use a different type of spinning technique? And then a community of purpose, which sort of brings everyone together, which is a selection of people based on the idea of shared values. Because one of the biggest elements of risk in this transformation is that you will end up dealing with people who are not really in it for the same reason that you are. So it's important to be explicit about values, declare the values, and to share them. And that is an essential element of lowering the risk of innovation. So once we have gotten people interested, how do we get them to do things together? Well, in herewear we did different approaches. One is when people wanted to sign up to the herewear community, we asked them, what are their values? What are their roles? What kind of company do they work with? And that gave us a landscape of the kind of people we were dealing with, enabling us to perhaps balance the roles and the competencies within the herewear community. But it also allows them to see that they're not alone, that there are other researchers in here with them, that there are other businesses, and that there are people that share their values. And it enabled us to target certain groups of people, those who are more interested, say, in bio-based textiles, and those who are more interested in building a local production chain for different herewear activities. Of course, the promise to them was, which is in itself an innovative promise, to be part already of a research project, to participate, to get early access to research results. Nona this morning was very clear when she was saying we wanted to use the prototypes of this material. We wanted to this material. It doesn't matter if it's commercially available today or tomorrow, but we were able to see what would happen. See what would happen to our collections, to our image, to our brand. So we will be ready when this becomes commercially available. And that was basically the deal that we offered community members. And they responded well to it. We got over 200 people to sign up. We gave them the opportunity, companies, and we have a woman in the Netherlands who makes socks out of algae-based fibers. They were absolutely gorgeous. We had a woman in a Korean company doing bio-based textiles. We have a German guy in northern England working on circular costume design for the Leipzig Opera House. We had all sorts of very interesting people that all challenge us to think about what kind of concrete situations, what kind of concrete realities are these research results going to connect with? And they gave us that feeling. We translated also their 5-minute pitches into online videos that they could put on the platform so that they could all see what the other community members are like, what they do. And then we had these local workshops, quite a few of them actually. Some of the people here came from these. And they're at the local level. We've been talking about local, we'll be talking more about local. What was interesting is to build a partnership, the so-called quadruple helix, to involve the local public authorities, maybe the municipality, the regional government, to involve a local research organization, local businesses, and local citizen and activist groups to collaborate together to see how each role could contribute towards bringing about a systemic innovation that is not just for an industry, it's about the way people are going to live and work. And then with a selection of the people that emerged from this community, we did more in-depth experiments. We looked at mapping biomass waste in a region. Where is all of this stuff going to come from? How big a radius does a biorefinery need to have? We looked about, we had a fast fashion brand that signed up, and we looked about what kind of implications would all of this have on their internal company organization? How are they going to work with big brands and small brands, and how are the departments going to connect with each other in different ways? And we got some more in-depth insights from outside of the project partnership about the context that we are working towards. And so now we're at the final conference, we're reflecting on, so now what do we do? This is a quote from the well-known Lamy report, which preceded the current programming period, and it is about the idea of a continental living lab. The fact that people, businesses, organizations need to be involved in research and innovation processes from the start. We need them to define the agenda. We need them to set the innovation path from the kind of things you saw this morning that the research results the project is doing, towards it becoming normal, towards the day when you can go into a store and buy something that, or maybe online service and rent something that is local, circular, and bio-based. But that's going to take time. And it's very important for the results of a research project like herewear to find some kind of container, some kind of umbrella organization, and that's exactly what TCBL aims to do, to take care of the research results and take care of the community to continue this type of interaction afterwards, because the uptake process is much longer than the 4 years that a European project has at its disposal. Very concretely, we will be maintaining the action. I won't go into details, but we are mapping the transition path from the herewear community towards the TCBL association, which will allow the project results hopefully to continue the path from the research field into the real world. Thank you very much.
Who's the presentation?
You have slides?
Yes.
The last one.
Right ones, yes, thanks. So my name is Kirsi Niinimäki. I come from Aalto University, and I talk about new cotton project which just actually ended. And on Aalto University, my area is sustainable fashion and textile research. I run the research group which is called Fashion Textile Futures, and I come from design research. So in New Cotton, actually, that was really like constructed to be an industrial demonstration. So there was the whole supply chain involved, and the idea is that, well, we scale up one technological innovation and also show that actually textile circularity is possible also when we talk about textile waste. And it's really based on this infinite fiber company innovation, so they're also leading the project, and they are looking for this cellulose-rich material. So and the technology is possible to really like upcycle, create high-quality fibers based on the cellulose-rich textile waste, and they can be used like 100% textile waste only, or then they can actually also blend with other materials like cotton. Idea is also that actually they are possible to recycle after the use time is over. And right now they are scaling up the whole innovation, and that was also behind of this project. And because they were really wanted to test that what actually happens, so all stakeholders throughout the supply chain was involved. Frankenhuis was the textile waste collector, and of course this is the new partner when we talk about textile circularity. So of course those ones who are then handling textile waste, they have a knowledge that normally doesn't exist in linear textile system. And then there was also brands involved, the end users of the fibers, Adidas and H&M, and their knowledge were really important, because normally, especially now when they are just like starting this fiber production, they don't have any understanding about the end product, what's the durability or what kind of attributes actually Adidas or H&M, for example, are looking for. So in that sense, there was the whole supply chain involved. And what was really as an academic partner, so we were really like looking at the whole system, what happens when these partners are then constructing their new kind of ecosystem, what kind of knowledge flows are needed, what kind of material flows are happening. So that was our idea or our role in here, but we also produced quite a lot of open access information, white papers, as well as the Mogu, circular textiles.aalto.fi, so there's a lot of teaching material, whomever can actually use that one. I have only a couple of clips about the production. So of course the biggest learning happened quite in the early phase. textile waste and its content, how to then handle with the textile waste in bigger scale than the laboratory scale what Ingrid Piper has done before, as well as then how then process with the fibers to yarns and then the textiles. This is already like the textile dyeing processes and testing that against viscose and cotton, how actually then this recycled intimate fiber company fabric is producing what kind of colors are possible to produce. And the idea was also that there's enough time to also produce a couple of capsulate collection, especially Adidas. This was the first one, which was already released in autumn 22, and that was collaboration with Adidas and Stella McCartney. And those garments, spring especially, H&M factory has produced different kind of garments. So the idea was that they produce different kind of yarns, different kind of textiles. Here are this kind of jump to it, this kind of knitted materials, but then they actually produce also these kind of jeans type, really tough materials, and now this kind of like a more like dress type kind of textiles. So the idea is that actually this fiber can be produced different ways. And then colleagues from RISE, of course the sustainability evaluation is really important, that we are not just claiming that this is more sustainable than viscose or cotton. We really also have to test that one, and RISE made really good then life cycle analysis for these fibers, and quite interestingly actually if this company wants to. So something what we learned from the process. Well, there was everyone knows that there will be a lot of textile waste available, especially next year, but only really small portion of these actually are suitable for chemical recycling. So picky what actually can be put into the process, and that also means that we should have much more information about the content of the textile waste. Of course, this will be much easier in the future when all the production will be designed for recycling, but currently we are still dealing with a lot of textile waste with different histories. And while then scaling up, there was of course surprises, hiccups. Actually, there was impurities in the process which were not expecting to be. So there was when they then scale up and build even new machines. So all these kind of processes that looked really nice in the lab scale might not be quite easily digested in the middle scale processes. And they can handle blends, but that increases cost, and now they are saying that they are looking for materials which have cellulose or cotton at least 88%. But of course that also means that these technologies are developing all the time, and these figures will be better in the future. Currently quite many countries are still missing the infrastructure. We know that next year this is a law that all textile waste have to be collected and separately and then recycled, but actually quite many countries haven't yet have the infrastructure. Totally new kind of partnerships are needed. Waste collectors actually had a really good discussion ongoing with the designers, and then both companies actually do this project. And this is also something that we need all the time, new information when actually the textile waste sorting is getting better. There was a lot of discussion also with the policymakers. That was really important because they wanted to know what happens, what are those realities coming from the businesses or industry, so that actually when they are writing these EU regulations that they are not possible to implement in practice. And what was a real business or not? Thanks, that was mine.
Hello everybody, I'm Annalisa and I'm the European Project Manager of Mogu, that now is becoming Scheme. And I'm also the coordinator of another sister project that is MyFi. So MyFi is a project that is focusing on mycelium. I don't know how many among you know what is a mycelium. In general, you are more used to mushroom, probably, because you eat them, and they're very good. I love them, but the mushroom is just the fruits of the mycelium. The mycelium is the living body of fungi, and it's really a living organism that can do really. And my 5 stay for inventing a smart, simple, and competitive textile industry with advanced microfibers. At the beginning, when we thought about the mycelium, we thought about fiber, but in reality we discovered it is not a fiber, neither a textile, is really something new. Because the IFA, that are basically the roots of the mycelium, are something that is completely new, at least for our knowledge. We are a lot of partners, we are 14 partners, and as many other European projects with luxury brand for the fashion industry, there is Mogu, that is the biofabrication actor, I would say, and of course a lot of research institute. So our mission at the beginning was to develop a new innovative. I mean, it could be an alternative because we have less impact, but still is something that is not meant is an alternative. So we would like also to go through basically a linear economy to a circular economy. So try to do something that has an impact. And as you see, we had 4 high goals that were for sure to create something that meets end user demand. Both fashion and automotive sector have a lot of high standard when judging materials. So we wanted to create something that had the perfect quality that they were looking for. Of course, engage all the stakeholders and textile producers and innovators around this new methodology. Give also some policy guidance to this new material, because one of the main challenge is that the dimension is not textile, so we don't have a product category rule for this material. So also to fit into the new regulation is quite challenging, because they are meant for us as well, of course, but we are not a textile, so you know it's quite confusing right now. And of course, relieve the environmental pressure of the fashion industry that other actors also mentioned before. So we were focusing on different steps. First of all, we focused on the biofabrication, so collaborating with them and create something that is can also be with the fast look. We have one material that is very flexible, and this is more similar, like kind of plastic. That is the dynamic comes from the dynamic liquid fermentation that is on your left side. And after we have also another raw material that is come from the surface liquid fermentation. They are very different, and also the application could differ. The first one, the dynamic liquid fermentation, as you see, we call it the DLF material, while for the surface liquid fermentation we have the SLF material. For what concerns the dynamic liquid fermentation, basically we take the mycelium and we shake it in a liquid. It's called dynamic because we have a stir tank that really go fast, and you have different parts of the mycelium, you filter it, and it goes through hot treatment and an alkali treatment. We plasticize it, and after we have this really flexible final material that can be used mostly for accessories. For what concerns the surface liquid, so this is why important also to analyze your environment where you're in, and we inoculate our strain. We let it grow in the substrate. We grind it, and after you have basically a liquid substrate, and the mycelium is able to grow on the top of it. So after you have just a sheet that you take, and you have what you see, basically this, the raw material. You plasticize it through the glycerol, and after you have the final material that of course arrive after a wet processing. We focus, as I mentioned to you, on the upscaling of 3 dimensions: the biofabrication, the wet processing and finishing, and the application. So for what concerns the SLF, I would say that at the end of our project is the more advanced one, in the sense that we went from lab scale and also a dimension of basically for dimension of sheet. we scale up it, not only in terms of quantity, but also in terms of dimension of the sheet. That's when you're working with something that is a biological process, it's not so easy to do, because there are a lot of variables like pH, gas, and that really change completely the process. So it was quite, and also to a dimension of 1 square meters. This also because the fashion industry requires bigger sheets to be manufactured, and so it's easier. For the DF, we also upscale it. We started with lab trial with shake flags. We went through scale up at 150 liters, and now we are finalizing our test with 1,500 liters. So it's quite good. For the SLF, I would say that the quality is very high. It's something that is going soon on the market, on the leather industry. So we take the raw material. It went through a wet processing where we modify, go very fast. So these we tried different coating, both the wax, so very natural, and also biopolyurethane. Of course, the bio-based content really depends on the coating that you apply. So this is really something we have also, I would say, to work more on in the future. Our technology is the easy thing to scale up is that it's compatible with existing industries. We have a lot of partnership already present, and we have a patent. Just to go very fast, what we did. So at the beginning we started with really different techniques like thermal welding and the application of different parts to see if it was feasible. We started with a card holder, so you see also different way like manual weaving, high frequency. So we also teach different aesthetics. And now we have reached the prototype, so we have BC holder, shopper, we have pochettes, everything that you desire. Also some jacket, the dress, so yeah, we tested it. So we are collaborating with the nature, and this is really something very nice because really teach us a lot. And I would say that also in design phase is very, very important to have a life cycle thinking. So what also was mentioned before, so think of the end of life. And I would say that also we tested the biodegradation, so the raw material is perfect of course, but different treatment can have an impact on the end of life. So for what concerns coatings, I think that more research is needed right now. So yeah, we definitely produce, and also we collaborate with nature. As I mentioned, as the evidence say that, for example, for the process is very, very environmental friendly. We have to work more on the coating side. We need, and also the process is very important because it's kind of to pass. It takes time to pass from a linear economy to circular economy. We're used to metrics like GDP, or also in business we use revenues, and so you're forced to produce more. Maybe we should produce less, but better quality. And yeah, that's it. Sorry if it took more time.
The Kringwinkel Antwerpen, which is actually a circular shop. We have about 600 people who we employ, which are people with a distance to the labor market. We work according to the model of this other great women, Kate Rauwert, the donut economy, where we think that we should stay within the ecological boundaries of the planet, and on the other side try to give a decent minimum to the people we employ. So I already said who we are. I will explain a little bit on why we do what we do. It will refer also to what Emma said this morning, and what technologies first. So I will talk about CISUTAC and PLASTICE, but also in a way, what does this mean for a local organization like Kringwinkel to be in this kind of research programs, and what does the come-outs of these programs bring to us. Where do I have to point? 1,200 tons a year, with 16 people working permanently and it's a slow sorting. Sorting line locally is between 20 and 30%. But why do we do this? Everybody knows probably this figure, the warming up since 100 years. So in the last months we maybe could have thought that it is not true. What's a little bit annoying is that the more money we have, because the more the gross national product of a country goes up, we do not consume in a more decent or better way. No, we actually, Emma also touched upon this, we tend to use our stuff less long, less intensive, and we buy just more. And that's of course the big problem, because if we continue like this, leaving aside the biomaterials we talked about, but then this would mean that by 2050 we need 300 million tons of oil, that CO2 emission will go up with 26%, and not talking about the microfibers that go into the ocean that also are a steep curve. And we tend to forget, it's not only about warming up, but it's also a biodiversity crisis, and it's also a raw material crisis. Yeah, and this slide shows how we systematically are passing over certain thresholds we defined. They bring us a lot of stuff, and so we can create a lot of employee pair in the Mine R strategy. But we believe that technology can help a system as Kringwinkel to also have an impact on the higher R strategies. But what's important to realize that the R strategies is good, but it's also about true cost. What I want to tell about that is that each piece we buy means some tens of euros each time that is not covered. So we are building up a passive. If we buy a trouser new, each time some 10 of euros go to a passive that we try not to see. Now imagine that in a company like Kringwinkel, we would start to digitalize everything that comes in, and so the stuff we have in stock becomes searchable. This would mean that for the upper stream, that what we have in the shop, a lot more people could start to use this second-hand option. This would mean, for what we call the middle stream, the stuff that is not reusable, but maybe can still serve for creative use, that it becomes commendable, that the creative could, for example, load up pictures and that the system automatically takes this out. This is more important. A system like this will discover patterns within the quality of clothing and can give them feedback loops towards EPR and ESPR. And if the whole of Europe or the whole social Europe would do this, then this data thing would even become more powerful. Okay, then let's jump quickly to, and it also can be useful in the reuse in the upper stream, because it tells something on the quality. And you also have the complex fibers, so jackets, where you have different layers. And then is the question, is there a cost-effective way of taking these different layers from each other? And we do it with the case of fiber suits, because it's a very complex stream, but the fibers that are inside and to what extent customers in repair are willing to buy this kind of services. And so we have these two pilots, and I maybe just show, well, that's the dismantling station, where you see a cutter and then a thing on the right side that takes on the stripes. And this is the repair station that I was showing this morning also. Why is this important? Because it helps us, and we talked about should we give incentives to end consumers to do more repair, to buy more reusable. Of course we should, but I think it's also very important to do more innovation and to try at the basis to get circular business models that work and that have an efficiency that is high enough to just in a structural way offer it without giving incentives. The questions is for later on. This is our circular community center, by the way.
Thank you.
These different working groups, because, well, this cluster of projects really was funded with this goal in mind, namely to create a permanent expert community and central knowledge hub for practical application of EU-funded science and technology for textile sustainability. And our activities are threefold. So for one, we want to foster inter-project collaboration by bringing together the experts across Europe that all work on textile sustainability and circularity, so that they can exchange their knowledge and their best practices. The second objective is that we want to foster engagement with policymakers. So occasionally we consult our expert community to then provide their knowledge to the policymakers in Brussels for their decision making. And the third about the research that is going on in these projects. And therefore we organize roughly every other month webinars that we call Insight Series, where then these projects can present their research. But yeah, basically what you will be able to see on the next slide are just some photos to show you, well, that of course as our community is spread all across Europe, we mostly meet online, but we also try to always invite our community to then gather at these community events like our conference, because it's one thing to meet online and exchange, but it's also always nice to have this personal interaction. So yeah, these were visuals from our conference in Barcelona last year, and this year we have similar topics that they address, right? For example, eco-design is of course addressed in more than one EU-funded research project. And in these working groups, the experts that are interested in exchanging knowledge and best practices are invited to join and discuss with their peers from all across Europe. So we will have, or we have one on research and innovation gaps and needs, on joint dissemination, and the technical working groups on environmental assessment and the PEF, ESPR, and safe and sustainable by design. The second one is on recycling technologies, and the fourth on renewable materials and standards. And now I also wanted to quickly highlight some more other projects. You already got a good overview of the variety of research topics that were addressed here today by the colleagues of mine that presented before me. But we at Textile ETP are also involved in a couple of other projects, which are, well, the CISUTAC project, which I will skip because Frank already talked about it. And then we also wanted to also mention this project to you, the PESCO project, which started in January, so it's quite new. And what they are doing is working on this difficult task of, separating cotton and polyester from mixed streams of textile waste. And okay, I need the slide on solstice now. Also, just I wanted to mention this project because it actually has a local link to Berlin, because what the Solstice project does, which also started recently, is that they in 4 different regional clusters, so to close the loop, but with a focus on the region. Yes, okay, so almost coming to an end. Just if all of this was interesting to you, these are our upcoming activities and events that we have planned. So the Insight series are these dissemination webinars where we have our variety of projects present their results and their progress. We have 2 more planned this year, and then of course the conference that I was mentioning, which will be in Milan in October. And I know that herewear will also be there again, so we're really looking forward to have you there as well. And to stay in touch, well, you can follow us on LinkedIn, where we will announce also news from different projects and when they have events, and also, well, our webinars and conference. So that's it from my side. Thank you for your attention and your questions.
fine.
Yeah.
How long does it take to grow the resilient? A week or a month or?
So from when you inoculate it, we need almost 3 weeks for having the sheets. So of course the quantity depends on analyze. Also this fragile. I mean, it's at least this is more fragile than leather. So you cannot shake it like this because if not, it gets broken. So we have this gentle, nice machine that can, yeah, like a baby. And so we are trying now to have it also internal. For growing, yeah, we have a growing room specific because the temperature need to be around 23, 25 degrees. So you need a certain also humidity, different condition that permit the machine to grow well.
Yeah, so they won't grow any mushrooms then?
No, we deactivate it, so you don't have the fruits. No, you have just this blank white, super nice sheet. Yeah.
Okay. Have you have any thoughts of making it into fibers?
You cannot make it in fiber because it's completely different. It's kidding, so
Just checking.
yeah.
No.
But we can talk later.
No, what I meant is that it cannot be woven on it.
Yeah.
No, it's
I
great.
thought you had.
Yes, for Kirsi. Yeah, okay. I wonder about the technology of filtered fiber. How about like prints or dyes? Is this allowed or does it give extra difficulties?
Yeah, it depends from the prints of the dyes. So yes, there are a lot of these kind of limitations, and actually in Terex right now we are doing these design guidelines together with Adidas. So that's actually we are going through all these kind of details that what actually should be avoided. And I think that we quite many we already know. And quite well, for example, H&M and Adidas actually have in their own design guidelines these kind of things, like what to avoid, for example. So yes, there's certain kind of dyes which really prevents the recycling of that fiber.
But it means like post-consumer cotton is then quite difficult because you have to know the composition and which kind of dyes and chemicals are used.
Yes, I think that in the future it will be easier. I got one surprise that when they were scaling up and then there was some metal in the mass and we were wondering what the hell is this. But it must be some metal colors because those were still used in 10 years ago, 5 or 10 years ago. So all these kind of historical textiles actually are really problematic. You really don't know what they are including.
I wanted to ask the same question because we had an SME last year. She was using refact. She was using mixture of cotton, up to 70% cotton in bulk bales, and she was being. She can use a system, and I was wondering whether it was infinite fiber that she was using as a technological process to transform this 70% minimum cotton into fiber.
Yes, I don't know, was it, but it might be so costly. So that's now the limit, so yeah.
I have a question for Safa. Yes.
Annalisa?
Sorry.
I was just wondering, because you're doing the leather alternative, and I was just wondering the price point, because leather is like very expensive, and I was wondering if you're doing especially leather goods, like are you targeting like luxury market, or is it like small business? Like what's the price point for a square meter if I compare it to?
We are addressing right now luxury because brand. You don't have a lot of cost for what concern the production, meaning like energy or chemicals or this kind of stuff, because we have the machine that basically does everything for us. But still, like you are growing more, so when you go in a quantity that is bigger, the price will decrease. So right now we are like in capsule collection, and the mindset change that also should come also from consumers. So it's quite hard, yeah. The one that I showed was one that made it, but right now we have some agreement, and we did also some collection with, for example, Balenciaga and the Kering group. So, yeah.
Hello, I have a question. Annalisa, if I got this right, but I think you triggered the question, but it's addressed to everybody, that all the speakers or the guests here. The consumer behavior, the need for consumer behavior was a recurrent topic today. Yeah, the incentives for consumer education, for consumers, so on. Yet, even though all these projects did a great, we all know why, but we never speak about how we are going to do that. Maybe just, I know it's a difficult question, but I thought that at least maybe to reflect on it.
No, it's a question to all the projects that are, trying to change the game, both from the production side and from the demand side. And so they go hand in hand together. So it's like chicken and egg type of things. But it is true that this afternoon we spoke more on the mindful belief that, but maybe someone has
activities, but it's very hard to run as it's labor intensive.
And we have one last question. There was someone behind you. So, and you read it.
So just regarding the artificial leather,
Yeah.
I was wondering if you have thought, or if it's possible, or if you have tried to produce pieces in the shape of the intended end product.
Yeah, we tried. To be honest, is in theoretical level we can do it. Like the mycelium can grow in any shape, size, thickness, to give it the shape that you want. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I have a question concerning the knowledge transfer, because I'm representing an educational enterprise. We train future custom tailors and fashion designers, and I was looking to all of the work you have done and respect, it's a huge work. But to be honest, when I think about to transfer all this know-how to the multipliers who will be a future leaders or whatever in the fashion and textile industry, I miss a little bit, or I would say it's a little. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Esther. This is exactly what we are going to talk towards the end of the session. And also, this is one way of...
From the research pulled into the text and then went through the words, the language, specifically for education. So all of the language in things like the Bio 10 have been adapted for teaching.
So I have to do deeper research to find all this out. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Short break.
Yes, we start again at 4 for the round table. So we have a good 15 minutes break.